Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is January 3rd, 2025, and Barcelona have officially achieved the 1-1 rule after what it seems like it was 50 years without achieving a 1-1 rule. But Barcelona have finally achieved it through the VIP seats deal, which I have all the details of that deal for you. Also, we're going to discuss, will this deal be enough, or will achieving 1-1 rule be enough to register both Dani, Olmo, and Pau Victor? And finally, we're going to talk about the leaked audios of the Committee of Referees President, Luis Medina Cantalejo, where he admits that the red card to Hansi Flick was unfair. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and this is the Barca News live podcast where we discuss Barcelona news, and where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments out loud, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you head to Gold Kids, Kickbag, or Fanatics. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you head to Bet Us. All links are in the description. And let's begin with the news because there's so much to unpack during this podcast with so much news coming out of the city of Barcelona today. A lot of it revolving around the Dani, Olmo, and Pau Victor debacle. And we'll start with the first bit of news because Barcelona have officially achieved the 1-1 rule after 138 years being under a different rule, which wasn't the 1-1 rule. Now, today, Barcelona received the last bit of money that they needed to receive in order to get this deal approved. Now, let's unpack all of this because there is a lot to unpack. As you know, after the two different courts said that Barcelona will not be able to register Dani Olmo and Pau Victor through precautionary measures, Joan Laporta traveled to Dubai, where he negotiated with two investors the sale of VIP seats for 20 years in exchange of 100 million euros. All the paperwork was signed, contract was signed. Joan Laporta then turned that paperwork into La Liga to get it approved, and La Liga said, sorry, we're not going to approve it because we need guarantees of the payment. We need to see that money in the bank account. Why did La Liga do this? This was actually a rule that La Liga changed after the last debacle, which was the Barca Vision debacle, where Barcelona sold a portion of Barca Vision to the German investment fund Libero for 200 million. They presented the paperwork to La Liga, said, look, we're going to get 200 million from these Germans. La Liga said, cool, approved, go ahead, register players, do whatever you want. And then those 200 million euros never arrived. So after that debacle, La Liga did not want to go through this again. They didn't want to approve this, and then the 100 million euros never arrived from Qatar. So finally, La Liga said, sorry, but unless I see the money in your bank account, this deal is not approved. Now, what does the new rule say? The more strict rule that needs to see money in account. It says that if a deal is closed, La Liga needs to see 20% of that money in the account. So if it's 100 million euros, they need to see 20 million euros in Barcelona's account at the time of approval. In case the companies, the new investors, don't have a solvency report, then that percentage goes up to 40%. In this case, I imagine because they're foreign investors, there was no solvency report included in the paperwork. So La Liga demanded that Barcelona show the Spanish league that they had 40% of this deal, 40% of the 100 million, so 40 million in their account in order to get this deal approved. Now, Barcelona had some money in the account. They had about, I think it was 12 million euros, but they still needed 28 more million euros to meet that threshold, that 40% threshold, and get the deal approved. And today, the money hit Barcelona's account. They received the pending 28 million euros. And as such, this VIP sale or VIP seats deal has been officially approved. And La Liga have officially informed Barcelona through writing that they have achieved the 1-to-1 rule after approving this VIP deal, because of course Barcelona were negative 60 million euros. They needed 60 million euros to achieve the 1-to-1. This deal is 100 million euros, so it's more than what they needed. And now Barcelona are finally under the 1-to-1 rule, and they will be able to operate in the winter transfer market without any problems. But of course, we know that Flick and Deco have decided not to make any signings because, of course, the number one priority is to register Olmo and Pau Victor. Those two have to be registered before we can even think about signing other players. But just know that Barcelona is finally, after 268 years without being under the 1-to-1 rule, they're finally under the 1-to-1 rule after the VIP seats deal was finally approved by La Liga. All right, now, does that mean that Olmo and Pau Victor will be registered? We'll talk about that in the next segment, but let's do the comments first. All right, let's see. I saw a lot of people were waiting for the podcast to begin. I apologize for starting late. Had a lot of work today. I had to finish some work before the weekend because I don't work on the weekends. I don't like to work on the weekends. But let's see. Larry says, yo, Mo, since you got back from Argentina, I've sadly always missed the beginnings of the podcast. I'm happy to be here early. Happy New Year to you and all the fans. Happy New Year to you too, my friend. And thank you for being on the podcast. And thank you for your comment. All right, let's see. Larry also says, Christensen and Pedri at the middle will be a solid pair. What do you think, Mo? If Casado's injured, sure. If Casado's suspended, sure. If Casado needs some rest, needs to be rotated, sure. Otherwise, if Casado is available and healthy, absolutely not. I think Casado right now is the best defensive midfielder in the entire Spanish league, and I would not start Christensen ahead of him. I would not start anyone ahead of him. Java the Hut says, I don't get why Laporta wasn't willing to sell the club's asset for 20 years for Messi to stay at Barca, but wasn't hesitant to do something similar for a player like Dani Olmo. With the whole Messi debacle, it was just impossible. I know a lot of people want to blame Laporta. It just wasn't. Laporta arrived at the club. The club was, and this is something that I've noticed, people don't realize how bad Barcelona was financially. Not only they owed 1.3 billion euros. It's a huge fucking sum. But they were almost spending double of what they were bringing in. And not to mention all the contracts that were bleeding the club. So Laporta arrives. He knows the club is in a bad situation because, it was out to the public by then. And that's why Bartomeu resigned. But what we didn't know, including Laporta, how bad it was. It was much, much, much worse than what Bartomeu was telling the Socis. So Laporta arrives, he sees things are bad, but according to what Bartomeu was reporting to the Socis, it was bad, but it was still enough to sign Messi. So that's why Laporta's like, don't worry, we're going to renew him, blah, blah, blah. He hires an accounting firm, and the accounting firm does an audit of all the club's finances. They go through every contract, every receipt, every transaction, every bank account, every euro spent, every euro earned, you name it. This, of course, takes months because large audits like that take months. And after the audit is complete, the truth comes to the surface, which is that things were way, 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 way worse than what Bartomeu was reporting to the Socis. And at that point, it was already summer, and there was just nothing that could be done. The clubs, La Liga, looked at these these audits, and we're like, there's no way in hell we're going to let you register Messi's contract renewal. Now, people say, well, Messi was willing to reduce his salary by half. La Liga rules don't allow that. They don't allow players to be able to cut their salaries by such huge proportions because it's a way to protect the players. I'm guessing that's probably why, that way you don't, a player's like, let's say a player doesn't have other options. And you're like, all right, well, no other club wants you. You want to renew with me? I'm going to cut your salary by by 2/3 or something. And then the player's like, shit, I have no other option. No one else wants me. I think that's why. But La Liga was like, You can't. So there was just no way. There was no way to register him. There's nothing Laporta could have done to register that contract renewal of Messi. And remember, all this unravels in the summer. So yes, Laporta could have sold assets, but first he needed to go to the associates to get it approved, look for investors, negotiate the deal, and that took months and months. And by then it was the following summer, which by then Messi was already gone. So anyways, I know that was a really long-winded explanation, and therefore I do have to get back to the news. I'll do more comments, but let's talk about the next segment. You now know that Barcelona received the pending 28 million euros, and as such, the VIP seats deal was approved. And thanks to this approval, Barcelona are now under the 1-1 rule. But now the question is, what does this deal entail? And now we have a little bit of more details. We don't have the full details, but we have more details that tell us what this deal is about. Now, it seems that what Joan Laporta negotiated wasn't the sale of the seats themselves. He sold the usage rights of the seats to two investors in the Middle East. Now, this sale of rights grants the investors the rights to use them however they fit. If they want to go themselves and sit in them, or they want to rent them out, or whatever they want to do, they have the rights to use those seats. How many seats exactly? We don't know. But since it's the sale of the rights of the seats, not the seats themselves, Barcelona will still earn money from each seat. Okay, so Barcelona is going to get 100 million up front from these two investors, and then they're going to receive 25,000 to 30,000 euros per seat per season. Okay, say it's 100 seats, that's €250,000 euros every season from the seats. So Barcelona are not completely selling their future income. They're still going to be able to make money off these seats every single season. Again, 25,000 to 30,000 per seat per season, plus the 100 million euros upfront that the two investors have paid Barcelona. Now, this will be for a period of 20 years. And again, we don't know how many seats in total. And there's still reports out there saying that this deal was still worth 200 million. So even if we're getting 100, even we're still going to be making money off these seats, we still lost some money there because, of course, the Qataris are not stupid. They see Barcelona. They're desperate. They're racing against the clock. They needed to get this deal approved. I think it was in like 24 or 48 hours. So like, hey, I'm going to give you half. So either way, we lost money there. Of course, it's expected. Now, this whole sale of usage rights is not something uncommon. It has been done before. For example, Real Madrid sold the rights to their VIP seats at the Bernabeu for 86 million for a period of 30 years. And you might say, oh, well, Laporta looks like he negotiated a better deal. Instead of 30 years, it's 20. And, instead of 86 million, it's 100, right? But again, we don't know the number of seats, so we can't really compare. For all we know, Madrid could have sold half of the seats, or the rights to half of the seats that we did. So we don't know. We cannot compare. We just know that Madrid did a similar deal where they sold it for 30 years in exchange of 86 million. We've done it for 20 years in exchange of 100 million. And Barcelona used the same consultant that helped Real Madrid push through this deal. Barcelona used the same consultant, and that's how they were able to close that deal. And again, thanks to this deal, Barcelona have now achieved the 1-1 rule after La Liga approved it, after Barcelona received the remaining 28 million euros that they needed to receive to get this deal approved. But of course, the question remains, will this be enough to sign Dani, Olmo, and Pau Victor? That will be in the next segment. And now let's do more comments. Let's see. Luis says, watch Vini, red card got successfully appealed. All the videos showing what he did wrong. I did see that Vini got a red card. I was shocked. I almost fell out of my seat. I did not see the play. I don't know why he received the red card. I know it happened today in Madrid's match against Valencia. I don't know what happened, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, last time when Vinicius got red carded, he had actually punched a player in the face. in front of everybody. That's why he received the red card. And then they reversed it because they said, oh, the other player had said something racist. So apparently that gives you the right to punch players. And let's not forget about Valverde when he punched Villarreal player. I forgot his name after the match. And they were like, well, it happened after the match. So I guess it doesn't count. I don't know. But apparently if you're a Madrid player, you can punch players. That's the message here. If you're a Madrid player, you can punch others. That's fine. Just make sure to never touch your nose. That you cannot do that, okay? Touching your nose? No, absolutely not. That's horrible. How are you going to touch your nose like this? That's terrible. Punching, that's fine. Punching is fine, okay? Just go for it. KTNG says, hi, Mo. Don't understand La Liga rule. Nike deal signing bonus. La Liga doesn't count entirely into the season income and need to amortize over the contract term. Why VIP sale can some accounting rule? Again, the VIP sale has been enough to achieve the 1-1. La Liga have already informed Barcelona through writing. As far as Nike, it looks like it wasn't actually La Liga's fault. It looks like Nike had offered to pay the bonus, and then they said, hold on, we're actually going to give it to you in parts over a 10-year period. So La Liga was like, all right, well, if you're not going to get it all at once, it's not enough, right? Because Barcelona needed to make 60 million to achieve the 1-1. And all of a sudden, 140 million bonus or 120 million bonus, however it was, we don't know the exact figures. All of a sudden, it's divided by 10. Now you're talking about you just made 12 million instead of 120, right? Or if it's 150, all of a sudden it's 15 instead of 150, and you needed 60. So that's what happens. Nike simply decided that they were going to pay the bonus over the 10-year period. They probably, didn't want to fork out all the money all at once. Which of course understandable. 150 or 120 million. It's a lot of freaking money. But anyways, let's see what else. Lucy says, hello, Mo. How you doing? Happy that we have secured the 1-1 rule. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for messaging. And yes, kind of happy, I guess, we achieved the 1-1. My understanding is that next summer, Barcelona are going to have to make another 60 million to stay on the 1-1 because there's one last payment that Libero was supposed to make this upcoming summer, which was for 60 million. And of course, that payment is not going to happen. They're going to default again. And that means we're going to be short 60 million, which means that Barcelona are going to have to figure out another way to make up those 60 million, whether it's through the sale of players or, I don't know, a new sponsorship deal, something. And my man Klaus says it's 1:30 a.m. in Barcelona, not 12:30 a.m. I think it's a 6-hour difference with New York. So yeah, it's 1:49. So it's already January 4th in Barcelona. It's already Saturday. They are living in the future. So please, if you're in Barcelona, let me know what's going to happen in 6 hours. I need to know. Richard says that's all good and all. Get leaked audio admitting what was obvious, but it didn't change the outcome. Therefore, why care? I'll tell you why. I'll talk about it in a little bit. If you guys don't know what Richard is talking about, there was a leaked audio today from the president of the committee of referees, the CTA, as it's known by its Spanish initials, saying that, the red card at Flick was unfair. We'll talk about what it means and why it's important to talk about it, but that's the last segment. JC says, I was surprised to see that Barca sold the VIP seats. It didn't make sense because many months ago, Barca's official statement said that they already sold 90% of them, but now the rights to use makes sense. I agree. Again, we don't have the full details. It looks like we lost money on it, but at least we're still going to have an income for the next 20 years out of these seats. It's probably obviously a much more reduced income had we kept the rights to the seats, because otherwise, why would the investors spend this money? They're going to make money. And if they're making money, that's less money that Barcelona's making. It has to come from somewhere. And all that for a player that we didn't need, that we knew we couldn't afford. People want to paint La Liga as being the evil here, trying to sabotage us, but La Liga didn't do anything wrong. La Liga told us before we even signed Olmo, they said, hey, if you sign Olmo, you're not going to be able to register him. And Barcelona was like, fuck it, we're still going to sign him. And we still spent 60 million on signing him. And even though they knew they couldn't register him, they didn't bother to come up with a plan to register him. Okay, you already knew you couldn't. Why not come up with a plan before you sign him? Okay, fine, you signed him. Now come up with a plan. No, Did not come up with a plan before, did not come with a plan after. Instead, they sign them by pure chance because Christensen gets injured. Then they're like, oh, we're banking on a Nike deal. Then they find out that Nike's not going to pay them the full bonus by October. So again, you had another 2 months, still no plan. It's okay. Let's just, binge watch Netflix. We'll figure it out later. Then, freaking Christmas comes and all of a sudden, oh, crap. Shit, I have 2 days. Let me figure it out. Oh, let's file a lawsuit that has no grounds in anything. Oh, no, the lawsuit failed. Who would have imagined? Any lawyer with basic sense would have told you it wasn't going to work. Oh, that's okay. Let's file another lawsuit since the first one didn't work. I'm sure the second one will because, it's like playing the lottery. It's not. If there's no legal argument, there's no legal argument. And then it's like, oh, crap, now we have 1 day left. Let me fly to Dubai and get ripped off and get half the money that I was supposed to get because, of course, now I'm desperate. So I'm going to take whatever they offer me. All that, again, for a player we didn't need. And people are going to celebrate this like, oof, Laporta, the genius. Look, he still pulled it off. We're under the 1-1. There's nothing to celebrate here. This is improvisation and improvisation at its worst. And I'm sorry, but when you're the president of one of the biggest clubs in the world, you cannot be improvising. You have to have a plan, and you have to follow that plan to the teeth. And there has to be a plan B, plan C, and plan D. In case the first one doesn't work, you activate the second one. You don't just go around improvising. Oh my God, I have 2 donations that I forgot to read. But Baby's Comeback, thank you, my friend, so much for your donation. Says, what's up, Mo? I agree Laporta got dealt a bad hand, but he's doing the best he can. Who else can replace him? Fond Barca fans are reactionary. Look, this is Stockholm Syndrome. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like, yeah, this guy is fucking us, but it's okay because, we could be getting fucked worse. It's like, I'm sorry, but that's not an argument. If he's doing bad, he's doing bad. You have to call it out. Has Laporta done good things? Yes, absolutely. But he's also done a lot of blunders. And these blunders are building up on top of each other. It's not just a Dani Olmo thing. Pito Roque. What the hell are we doing here? Pay 30 million plus 30 plus in variables for a player so he can come and sit on the bench for a few months and then loan him out. Ferran Torres, 55 million. Ferran Torres is not even worth 20. It's just a blunder after blunder after blunder. And at some point, you have to say, enough is enough. Yes, you did good things, but that doesn't mean we get to look the other way around and ignore the bad things that you're doing. And Richard says, is Frankie possibly leaving this January? No, I doubt it. I don't think anyone's leaving this January because Flick and Deco don't want it. They don't want to weaken the squad. So I don't think so. Plus, I don't think Frankie's leaving anytime soon. It looks like he's just going to run out his contract and leave for free. But thank you for your donation, my friend. And with that, let's get back to the big question. Now that Barcelona have achieved the 1-1, now that Barcelona's VIP deal has been approved, will that be enough to register Dani Olmo and Pau Victor? So far, there's no answer. La Liga has not issued Barcelona an official answer. They haven't said yes or no. However, there's no indication that La Liga will approve it. And in fact, they're saying that La Liga have been telling journalists that they're not going to approve it. Again, there haven't been an official answer. Nothing in writing. Nothing has been communicated to Barcelona. But it's looking 99.9% that La Liga will say no. So, of course, the question is, how can La Liga say no? How can Barcelona be 1-1 rule, be allowed to sign players, but they can't register 2 players they've already signed? And that's because La Liga are adamant that all this was not done on time. Barcelona needed to submit all the paperwork plus the proof of payment by December 31st at midnight. Barcelona submitted the paperwork before then, but of course, they didn't submit the proof of payment until today, 3 days past the deadline, and as such, La Liga consider that it's done. It's over, right? The registration's expired, and you cannot register a player twice the same season, so there's nothing can be done. Had Barcelona submitted the paperwork plus the proof of payment before the 31st, the registrations would have never expired. They would have continued, and everybody would have been happy. But since they expired, And now Barcelona are submitting the paperwork after their expirations. They cannot be renewed because it would be considered that the two players are getting re-registered again and again. You cannot register a player twice in the same season. So what's the solution? Barcelona are already preparing the lawsuits. The lawyers at Barcelona already getting all the paperwork ready to file the lawsuit. I mean, I imagine as soon as Monday, probably. We don't know. Barcelona hasn't said anything, but I imagine as soon as Monday, as soon as the courts open, Monday will be filed. And during this trial, what Barcelona is going to argue is that this rule is unfair. The whole rule that you have to get it done by December 31st is unfair, and that instead it should match the winter transfer market. Now, the winter transfer market ends, I think it's January 31st or February 1st or 2nd. It ends in a month, and they want this rule to be, to match that, right? Instead of saying you have until December 31st, you have until the end of the winter transfer market, because in the winter transfer market, it gives you more time to sell players, offload players, figure out your financial fair play, etc. But by December, there's nothing you could do. Let's say you need to offload a player to register one. Well, you're not going to be able to offload him before December 31st because the transfer market is not open. So instead, you extend that deadline until the last day of the transfer market. And that way, if you need to offload someone, you can offload him during the transfer market and then register whoever you're trying to register in his place. Which, by the way, makes absolute sense. It should be like that. But of course, it's not like that. So you should have known what the rule is, and you should have abided by what the rule was. You can't be like, oh, the rule should be something else, and I want to go, I want to abide by what the rule should be. No, you abide by what the rule is, and then you change it, and then you can abide by what it is in the future, right? So that's what Barcelona are going to argue. Of course, the result of the lawsuit is irrelevant because what Barcelona are really going to be banking on is a precautionary measure. Now, what's a precautionary measure? That's you file a lawsuit. You say, look, we were on time. This rule is unfair, so our players should be registered. La Liga is going to be saying, no, they shouldn't be. It was late. And a judge is going to have to decide who's right. But while the case is being litigated, which, of course, takes months and months and months, Barcelona is going to say, look, while you litigate this case, let us register them under a precautionary measure. And then when you decide a rule, if you rule in our favor, cool, the registrations remain valid. If you rule against us, registrations are invalid. But by then, it would already be summer, so it doesn't matter, right? So Barcelona is just filing this lawsuit to get that precautionary measure so they can get registered until the end of the season. And then if Barcelona loses the trial, who cares? By then, hopefully, both Pau Victor and Dani Olmo would be registered under the normal way, not under a precautionary measure. So that's what Barcelona going to be banking on. That's what I predicted yesterday was going to happen. I was like, most likely he's going to go to lawsuit. Barcelona's going to try to get a precautionary measure. That way they win and they get their players registered. And that way La Liga also wins because, again, it's convenient for La Liga that Dani Olmo gets registered because, again, La Liga needs big names. Right now, they don't have many. They're all in Madrid, and that's it. So they need big players. And so they want Dani Olmo to play, but at the same time, they can't bend the rules because, as I told you in yesterday's video, there's a bunch of clubs ready to file a suit against La Liga. So if it goes to court and the court grants a precautionary measure, La Liga washes its hand. They get what they want, which is for Dani Olmo to continue to play, but they don't get sued and they don't get flack from other clubs because they're like, look, I said no, it wasn't me. It was the court. The court registered them. Go take it up with them. And then, of course, Barcelona gets what they want by registering their players. That's what I think is going to happen, hopefully, because otherwise, both players, they can't play for the rest of the season, right? Not a single competition. Pau Victor will be stuck on the bench, just training for the rest of the season. Dani Olmo, he could end up leaving. And if he leaves, we're screwed because that's 60 million down the drain, plus the 100 million euros that we lost on the VIP seats deal, plus his salary for the next 5 years. It's going to end up costing us like at least 250. Imagine paying 250 for Dani Olmo so he can play for 4 months. That would probably become the most expensive signing in the history of football. I mean, I know they paid more, but Neymar ended up staying at PSG for 5 years? Imagine paying 250 million for 4 months. That would definitely make it the most expensive signing in the history of football. But anyways, we'll see what happens. If Barcelona get the precautionary measure, it's not going to be on time for the semifinal of the Spanish Super Cup. So expect Dani, Olmo, and Pau Victor to miss not only the match against UD Barbastro this weekend in the Copa del Rey, but most likely they're going to miss also the semifinal against Athletic Club de Bilbao. If Barcelona get the precautionary, maybe they'll be available for the final. We'll see, but welcome to Laporta's world, where it's like a kid in school trying to do his homework midnight the day before it's due. All right, we got more donations. Let's fucking go. All right, let's see. Baby's come back. Another donation. Baby's come back, making it rain. Let's go. He says, I also wanted to say thank you for being unbiased and realistic, like other media who are spreading lies about signing Leao and feeding people BS. I'm glad people are finally noticing the whole BS about Leao, because for the past months, people are like, oh, we're going to sign Leao. They told us Xabi met with Haaland, I think it was last season, because he was trying to convince him to come. And, you know, Kvaratskhelia, and this whole time I'm like, what are you guys talking about? You can't even register the players we have, and you're talking about signing Leao for 150 million. Like, in what world do some of these outlets live? And I understand you need to make a living, but you can still make a living by being honest and not feeding people BS, because nobody in their right mind could think that we are in any financial state to be signing people like Leao and like Kvaratskhelia or Erling Haaland. Like, it's impossible, even if they come for free. I mean, we're talking we can't even afford to sign Davis if he comes as a free agent, because remember, free doesn't mean free. When players are free agents, they demand signing bonuses. They demand a higher salary, because they're like, look, you're saving money on my transfer fee since I'm free. Well, give me some of that money that you're saving, right? We can't even afford a free player like Davis. No way we can afford Leao or Kvaratskhelia or all these names that a lot of these media outlets are just spitting out there. But thank you, my friend, for your comment, and thank you for your donation. And Richard, also making it rain, says, how much do you think this Olmo saga will deter other players from coming to Barca? That's a good question. I mean, it already deterred Nico Williams, and it hadn't even happened, right? Nico Williams was like, look, if you guys can't give me guarantees of being registered, I'm not coming. Now, another reason was he also wanted to stay and play, Europa League with his brother. But, I mean, it's already deterred someone, and it hadn't even happened yet. Now, if Barcelona stay on a 1-1 in the summer, I don't see it deterring any more players, because we'll be under the 1-1. Right now, we're under the 1-1. We're good. Again, in the summer, there's another 60 million euro payment due from Libero, which is not going to arrive. So Barcelona going to have to figure out how to make up that 60 million. If we make it up and we stay on 1-1, I don't think it'll deter anyone, because people are like, I don't need a guarantee. You're obviously under the 1-1. You're going to be able to register me, no problem. But if we slip under the 1-1 and back to like the 60% rule that we're currently under, then it might deter some players. They're going to be like, well, you told Olmo you can register him when you weren't under the 1-1, and look what happened. And, I wouldn't blame players if they thought that way, because I would think that way. But thank you for your donation, my friend. Let's do a couple more comments, and then we're going to talk about the leaked audios. Trini says, haven't caught the live in a while. Been seeing reports of the deal being done, but I needed to hear it from you first. Good to hear. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for catching the live and for your comment. And Zexin says, hey, Mo, tomorrow my birthday. As a birthday present, I want a youngster to shine next game. Happy birthday, my friend. That's pretty awesome. And yes, hopefully for your birthday, we'll win the UD Barbastro match. By the way, Madrid won today against Valencia, so they are now 5 points ahead of us. Same amount of matches. Atletico Madrid are still 3 points ahead of us, but they have one less match. So if they win I think they're missing matches against Osasuna, which if it is, it shouldn't be a problem for them. So if they win it, they could be 6 points ahead of us. So good job, players, on blowing the lead. And SA says, Mo, seriously, are you aware of Igmane from Rangers, R9 replica, or Solis from Bruges, are 2 new strikers, both 22? You know them. I haven't heard of them, but I'll check them out. So thank you for the suggestion, my friend. And with that, let's do the last bit of news. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you guys might remember this. Hansi Flick in the Real Betis match got a red card, which till this day, nobody understands why. He didn't insult the referee. He didn't yell at the referee. He didn't even talk to the referee. He saw, I think it was a penalty kick that Frankie committed. And then he just turned and, he was kind of fuck or something. He said something in German. Um, and that was apparently enough for a red card, which again, nobody understood. Barcelona filed for an appeal. Of course, the appeal went nowhere, and Flick ended up receiving a 2-match ban, and he ended up missing the match against Leganés and the match against Atletico Madrid. He will be back once La Liga resumes. But now they've leaked the audios of the CTA. The CTA is the Committee of Referees. It's the committee that is in charge of all La Liga referees, and their president is Luis Medina Cantalejo, and the president was having a meeting with the referees. It was a Zoom meeting. And during this meeting, he admitted that Hansi Flick's red card was unjust and it made no sense. Now, someone recorded that audio and leaked it. Gigantes leaked it today. Gerard Romero from Gigantes leaked it today. And now we have the transcript of those audio. And of course, it is translated because, of course, he was speaking in Spanish. But this is what Luis Medina Cantalejo had to say about the whole, damn it, it always does this, about the whole red card of Hansi Flick. So he starts by talking about how other players and other coaches do things that they don't get anything for. So he says, making all kinds of gestures, outrageous behavior. And here we are still joking in the tunnel, giving them high fives, hugs. You're a star. You're amazing. And this week, I have to say, we saw the expulsion of a coach. He's talking about Flick. May God come and see it. We are enduring complaints all season, making gestures, protests of all kinds. I repeat, 10 meters from the technical area, waving arms, throwing bottles, everything, and swallowing it all. He means like, they see all this and the referees are just swallowing it, like not saying or doing anything. And now it turns out that for doing nothing, no matter how much I've seen it, damn, you also have to have a bit of flexibility when these things happen. So to give you a little bit more context, because you kind of lose a lot of the context in the translation. He's talking about, he's like yelling at these refs. And he's like, are you kidding me? You have players who insult you, who abuse you, who scream in your face, and not only do you not show them red cards, you're in the tunnel joking with them, hugging them, telling them, oh, you're a star, you're amazing, when they're pretty much spitting in your face, metaphorically speaking. And then he's like also talking about, we have to endure complaint from like coaches and people and like players on the sidelines, like yelling at us, throwing bottles, doing all these things. And you guys are not doing anything. And then here we have a coach, Hansi Flick, who does absolutely nothing. And you show him a red card. So he's like, I don't get it. Like, you literally have players yelling at you, insulting you, and you don't do anything. But here's a coach who does nothing, and you show him a red card. And I agree with 100%. I don't get it either. Like, again, we've seen Vinicius Jr. time and time again screaming at the referees, getting in their face, nose to nose, calling them crazy, saying that they're high, calling them sons of bitches to their faces, not like walking away and saying it under. No, to their faces. And the most he's gotten is a yellow card. And again, he's Flick. Doesn't do anything, and he gets a red card. And it looks like Luis Medina Cantalejo agrees 100%. Again, this was him yelling at the referees. Like, he just couldn't believe it that Flick got a red card when these referees let other players and coaches do whatever the hell they want. Now, it continues. He starts to talk about, fairness and what these refs should be doing in the future. It says, it's different if we know that a guy is causing problems every weekend, protesting everything and doing everything to us. So if one day I go too far, he should shut up. In other words, had, for example, Flick been complaining every weekend and always insulting, abusing the referees, and this time in the Real Betis match, he doesn't do anything, but he gets a red card, that's fine, right? Because even though he didn't deserve a red card for his behavior in the Betis match, he would have deserved it because he's always been an asshole, right? But Flick, obviously, not the case. Besides, we put in place last year or the year before, I don't remember now, this protocol of verbal warning. We go there, we clearly warn them verbally, and everyone has already seen it. If the coach continues to protest or wants to have the last word, warning, but I repeat, we are going to try by all means to be a little fairer. So again, here Cantalejo, asking his referees, like, please be fair. Like, if it's a coach who's always been an asshole, fine, give him a red card for doing nothing. He deserves it for the previous times. But if he's a guy who's never done anything and you see him, go crazy, just go there, talk to him, be like, yo, calm down. You're usually a chill guy. You never cause problems. This time you are causing problems, but that's fine. I'm going to give you a warning because you're usually a good guy. I'm not going to give you, like, he's pretty much asking, like, think. Don't just fucking act. Like, be fair. Use your brain, you idiots. Pretty much that was the tone of the conversation because I heard the audios. He was really pissed. Now, some people might say, well, what's the point of talking about this? Because at the end of the day, the suspension was never received. And that's a very valid question because like here we have the president of the CTA saying this was unjust, and yet they didn't remove the suspension. So I agree 100%. But it's important to talk about this because this actually is a step forward, believe it or not. Even if the suspension wasn't reversed, it's a step forward because for the longest time, refereeing in Spain has always been bad. But for the longest time, whenever there was a gruesome mistake, the CTA, the La Liga, the Royal Spanish Football Federation would be like, mistake? What are you talking about? Like, there's no mistake here. We did our job. Everything's great. Like, shut the fuck up. You're the idiot, not us. Like, we are in the right always. But here, actually, we see a change of that. We see the president of this is the president of CTA. This is not like some random reporter. This is not John Laporta. This is not Hansi Flick himself. This is the president of the committee of referees actually reprimanding his refs, telling them, stop being stupid. Like, stop being idiots. Like, wake up. Do your job right. Be fair. So this is actually, to me, is a step forward. Now, I know some media outlets out there, YouTubers, whatever, they're going to use this to try to be like, oh, see, look, it's all rigged. Everybody hates Barcelona and blah, blah, blah. I don't see it that way. I actually see a president of CTA disappointed in the performance of his referees and reprimanding them for it and asking them to be better. To me, that's a huge step forward because, again, for the longest time, the CTA and La Liga never, ever, ever wanted to take responsibility for their fuck-ups. And now, step forward. I don't know. You tell me. But anyways, let's do more comments. Wow, 400 people watching. Let's go. We haven't hit 400. I think we hit it once only in the channel's history. And for the first time this year, I guess, we're hitting it again. So thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button because when you hit the like button, it prompts the YouTube algorithm to recommend this video to people who've never seen it or never seen the channel. So thank you. Thank you guys again. All right, let's do more comments. Winner Harmony says, winner from Nigeria. So glad to meet the live stream. Keep up the great work. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your comment and for watching. And Daniel says, oh, yes, we are very happy. So I'll receive transfer the book and thanks to the procedure. Alice, no one can put my... I don't think he's talking to me. So we'll keep moving. Carla says, hey, Mo, do you think Deco is more to blame for this than Laporta since he pushed for Olmo signing? I know Laporta is at fault too, but I think we are forgetting about Deco. No, because Laporta is the president. And at the end of the day, you are in charge of the ship. And, the buck stops with you. I mean, sure, maybe we can blame Deco. Maybe we can blame the scout that made the report that gave to Deco. Or maybe we can even go under more and the guy who called the scout that told him where's Olmo going to be playing so he can go watch him. Or maybe we can blame the pilot who flew the scout to Germany to have Olmo watch, which produced a positive report, which got to the desk of... Look, we could go a million steps down. At the end of the day, the guy who's in charge, the guy that calls the shots is John Laporta. And the buck stops with him. Let's see. Fan says, Happy New Year, my fellow Barcelona fans. Wishes well in the second round of the season. Happy New Year to you too, my friend. Hopefully, yes, we'll do. Hopefully, the team will wake up. They'll realize that just because you're playing against a small club doesn't mean you get to go out there half asleep and just jog. That you have to show the same intensity in every match, whether it's a Champions League final or if it's a Copa del Rey match against Levante. I don't know. You have to show the same intensity because even third, fourth division teams can cause you problems. And hopefully the team realizes that. Hopefully the team learns from their mistakes. And hopefully we'll see the Barcelona from the first half of the season, not from the second half of the season. Kule767 says, Mo, I'm glad we are back to the 1-1 rule, but this last-minute deals to register players are not sustainable, man. 100% agree with you. Like I said, this is just improvising and improvising badly. And a club as big as Barcelona cannot be ruled by a president that just lives off improvisation. A club as big as Barcelona has to have plans that are put in place months and months ahead. And those plans need to have backup plans, plan B, plan C, and plan D. So in case the first one doesn't work, you jump to the second one, then the third one, et cetera, et cetera. And you do it with time. So when the first plan fails, you still have plenty of time to try out plan B. And if plan B fails, you still have plenty of time to try out plan C, rather than flying to Dubai 48 hours before the deadline to try to close a deal, a multi-million-dollar deal, which of course, it cost us another 100 million euros because again, Qataris are not stupid. They see you desperate. Of course, they're going to want to undercut you and offer you much less. Dustin says, hi, Mo, is the 1-1 we have entered now going to last only till the end of the season, or is it a guaranteed long-time thing? Also, did we sell the VIP seats at a lower than preferred valuation? The answer is no and yes. So, it's going to only last until the end of the season because there's another 60 million euro payment due from Libero, which is not going to arrive. And Barcelona is going to have to make up that 60 million in order to stay on the 1-1. And as far as the VIP seats, yes, it was sold. And yes, we lost money. So, thank you, Laporta. Emmanuel says, Mo, happy New Year to you, bro. Wish you all the best in this new year, Mo. Good news for me tonight. Thank you, my friend. Happy New Year to you, too. Is it good news? I guess. Is there a reason to celebrate? Absolutely not. Again, we lost a lot of money on this. And for what? You know, Alistair says, I hope Laporta did not pay the consultants any outrageous sums this time. Yeah, let's hope that too, because it looks like he paid or will pay or has paid 50 million to the guy who helped us close the Nike deal. 50 million. I want to make 50 million of just being a third neutral party. Just, hey guys, hey, you have the money, you have the product. Come here, talk to each other. All right, you close the deal, pay me 50 million. Sounds like a pretty good gig. The Matrix says, I think that the moment we get our shit together, we should run the Nike deal down and bounce from Nike to Adidas. I mean, we already signed until 2038. So there's no breaking that deal unless you pay Nike the full value of the contract, which is going to be in the billions. So it's just not possible. I mean, that's why contracts exist. You can't just sign a deal and then be like, oh, psych, bye, without repercussions, right? Destin says, Laporta is feeling his way upwards. He gets applaud for his level of mismanagement. Yeah, and I'm already seeing people on social media celebrating this like it's some genius move, and there's nothing genius about this. This improvisation is just awful. Awful. Andrew says, Mo, I want to invite you to Africa, Monrovia, Liberia. Just a short visit to meet with FCB fans. I would love to go to Liberia. I've actually never been to the African continent. I would love, love, love to go. In fact, and this is more of a detail from my personal life, but my sister, she is married to a diplomat, and she will be moving to Egypt in 2026, beginning of 2026. So I'll have a home base to start exploring my way into Africa, which I would love to do. Let's see. Where else? Sean says, I think Frankie will leave because next year is a World Cup and Frankie will want regular playing time, and given the midfielders Barca have, Frankie will play mostly off the bench, so I think he leaves. I think the best way to make him leave, taking into consideration the World Cup, is telling them this summer, look, you have two options. You either get sold or you renew. You don't want to do either? That's fine. You're not going to play a single minute. In fact, you're not even going to be on the bench. You're going to be sitting in the stands the entire season. And I think if Barcelona put their foot down and actually say that and convince the player that that's what's going to happen, I think he would leave because, like you said, it's World Cup. You know, he's gonna need to play. If you spend the entire season on the stands, no one's gonna play you. Flyboy says whether Laporta got ripped off depends upon the number of seats that were being discussed originally and that were in the final deal. Might not be the same. Here's the thing: even if the seats were less, let's say the original deal was 100 seats, just to put a number out there, for 200 million. And let's say this deal was 50 seats for 100 million. The Qataris would have offered 70 or 60. There's no one in their right mind as a businessman, Remember, Arabs are known for being business people. That's their trade. They've been doing that for thousands of years, right? Even the Prophet was a tradesman, businessman. Even if it was less seats, no one would be dumb enough to offer for price when you see that Laporta just flew to Dubai desperately needing to close this deal because the time was running out. No one in their right mind is going to be like, okay, sure, I'll pay full price. Hell no. Of course you're going to look for a deal, especially if you're Arab. Have you ever dealt with Arabs in stores? They're always trying to squeeze a deal out of you. Always. All right, let's see. Jasper says, players has to be absolutely in love with Barca. No one else want them or out of their mind to come to Barca. Otherwise, players will not come to Barca. I mean, look, Barcelona still have the appeal. You know, it's still one of the biggest clubs. We still had a lot of, history, legends, trophies. So, yeah, of course, it still has an appeal to come to Barca. But if you can't register someone, no matter how big the appeal is, you're just not going to risk it. Look at what's happening with Olmo and Victor. They might spend the rest of the season not being able to play. And, Jumbo says, good morning, Mo. It's past 2 a.m. here in Nigeria. I've been waiting all evening to hear from the live stream, which I consider more authentic. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for waiting up. And thank you for watching and for your comments. And then we'll do, we have a donation. I was actually going to do the last comment. So I guess it'll be the donation. My friend Sanjok, thank you, my friend, for your generosity. But says, I think Barca needs to be run like a real business. Hire a quality CEO. Set up KPIs, monthly updates, break down short-term and long-term goals. I agree 100%. And that's another thing I've criticized Joan Laporta, even though I've also applauded him for a lot of things he's done. But again, it's not about always criticizing someone. It's also not always about applauding someone. If they do something good, you applaud them. If they do something bad, you criticize them. That's the fair way. But in the case of Joan Laporta, one of the things I've criticized him is that, yes, he should professionalize the club. After all, it's a multinational. It's one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's one of the richest clubs in the world. It should be ran as such. This is not your father's bodega that you just inherited, or it's not some deli that your family just gave to you to run where you could just improvise day to day and try to figure out shit on the fly. This is a multinational. One of the biggest and richest clubs in the world. It should be ran as such, as a company. Why is there still no CEO? Barcelona CEO stepped down 2 years ago, and Joan Laporta has still refused to replace him. How many board members have stepped down, and instead of Joan Laporta assigning new people in their place, he just takes on their job. It's okay, I'll just do this job, half-ass this job, half-ass that job. Fuck it, I'll half-ass it all. I'll run on the fly because, it's Barcelona, no big deal. Anybody can run it, right? And that's a problem. And that's a big, big problem, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it. That's what happens when you half-ass things. That's what happens when you do things on the fly. That's what happens when you improvise. You end up getting ripped off on last-minute deals because you failed to come up with a plan to register a player you did not need that you knew you couldn't register months ago. Months ago. So I agree 100% with you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will end what has been the longest live stream. 53 minutes. My goodness. God bless you guys for putting up with my blabbering for 53 minutes. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, your incredibly, incredibly generous donations. I will be uploading another video because, of course, there's more news, even though I just spent 53 minutes talking about news, but there's more news. So stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, Visca Barça.